Everybody embarrasses themselves at one point or another, but the next time you trip over your laces or fart in a crowded elevator, just think back to the video you're about to see. Because for these people, their big humiliating moment will be forever remembered by millions of people around the world. Let's see how far you can get without cringing. It's okay to be smart. Back in 2015, Britton Andresic, a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, was, let's say, pretty confident in his question answering abilities. Before being given his first question, Britton described how the show made him feel as a kid.
Maybe it's not so bad being smart. Maybe it's not bad being a nerd. Maybe it's cool to be smart.
But despite being proud to be smart, his brains failed to show up when asked where 20-somethings go to take selfies in kitchens they can't afford.
So, kitchens you can't afford, meatballs, sounds like it's gotta be Rome to me.
Brittany was IKEA.
Missing the obvious joke in the question, Britton left the studio empty-handed after the first question. The moral of the story? Don't brag about how clever you are on national television. Chance has a nasty habit of proving you wrong in the most brutal of ways. Channel 4 style. Some things like wine get better with age. This next clip, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. Discussing the incredible success of Psy's Gangnam Style back in 2012, Channel 4 news presenter Kathy Newman bizarrely decides to perform the associated dance on live national television.
What about C4 style?
With loose wrists and a non-existent sense of timing, if she was aiming for laughs or praise for her dancing skills, she went about it the wrong way. Even though it only lasted 30 seconds at the end of her news segment, Newman's cringeworthy routine has been immortalized forever online. China's richest embarrassment. In this next clip, South African entrepreneur Elon Musk slowly realizes that China's richest man, Jack Ma, might not be as smart as his bank account implies. While attending the 2019 World Artificial Intelligence Conference in China to talk about AI, it soon becomes apparent that Ma isn't exactly an expert in the field.
Yeah, AI, I hate the word AI called artificial intelligence. I call it Alibaba intelligence.
Yeah, might end up being true, you never know.
Then Ma goes on to talk about the science, making some claims that Musk, an actual man of science, seems a little skeptical of.
And according to the science, right, humans can never create another animal that is smarter than humans.
The outrageous claims keep coming, and Musk's patience appears to dwindle.
Computer may be clever, but human beings are much smarter.
Yeah, definitely not.
Clever.
I can't help feeling a little sorry for Elon. He just wanted an intellectual debate about the dangers of AI and how to combat them.
Actually, I'm not interested in Mars. I just came back from there, so I'm not a tech guy. I think more about life.
Instead, he got a mega-rich businessman who knows as much about AI technology as my grandma. Comic cleric. John Piper, a Tennessee theologian, got more than he bargained for when he went up on stage to deliver a sermon back at a Christian conference in 2009. His speech was brought forward in the schedule when at the last minute he was asked to switch time slots with a comedian who was due on stage before him. The audience, however, were unaware of this scheduling change, so when Piper delivered his speech, instead of giving him holy reverence, the audience laughed at him, thinking he was a comedian delivering a deadpan routine on religion.
I'm a sinner.
While Piper attempts to be sincere and vulnerable, he's laughed at relentlessly.
Prone to freeze up emotionally when he's tired and then feels instinctively justified in blaming it on somebody else.
He even pours his heart out in a self-analysis of his own flaws, which again is met with hearty chuckles.
A man who never feels sure of his motives, including the ones I feel right now about why I'm doing this.
If you ever want to see someone die inside, this clergyman's farcical mishap isn't a bad place to start.
I'm just not used to being laughed at, you know? Serious, and though they make you laugh, they make me cry. And I mean that, so you've got to stop laughing like that. I just don't understand you folks.
Lord Almighty. Beauty or brains? Beauty contests aren't exactly renowned for their intellectual debates, and this clip from the Miss Teen USA 2007 pageant might just be the reason why. When asked to give her thoughts on why a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map, Miss South Carolina Caitlin Upton launches into this eloquent explanation.
Some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and
it's as if someone smashed their keyboard, ran the outcome through Google Translate 20 times, and fed it into a teleprompter. If a fifth of Americans are on Miss Carolina's intellectual level, it's hardly surprising that they can't locate the U.S. on the map. But fear not, Miss Carolina has solutions.
our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future.
Despite this brain fart, possibly caused by the pressure of live TV, Miss South Carolina still managed to come third overall. But anyway, let's not judge her too harshly. Anyone can make a mistake. Such as the people in the Asian countries, or in South Africa, or in the Iraq, everywhere, such as Biden slip up. Former Vice President Joe Biden dug himself a very deep hole during a speech in Des Moines, Iowa back in August 2019. Discussing the idea that poor kids can't do as well as wealthy children in schools, Biden comes on with this.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
His attempt to recover from a slip of the tongue by rattling off other races only makes matters worse, as do the audience's sympathy claps. This gaffe definitely wasn't in the script, but this is the face of a man who knows his little slip-up will be headline news in a matter of hours. And now, the weather. In 2010, BBC weatherman Tomas Schaffernaker received a friendly dig on air by fellow anchor Simon McCoy about the accuracy of his weather forecasting.
Now we'll have the weather forecast in a minute, and of course it'll be 100% accurate and provide all the detail you could possibly want.
Returning the playful ribbing, Tomas responded by doing this.
For it, so I'm not entirely...
His attempt to turn his middle finger salute into a chin scratch with a look of horror plastered on his face only makes matters worse. Safe to say, if you fancy some friendly banter with your colleagues, best to make sure you're not on live TV with the cameras rolling. Terrible tats. When a dog owner discovered a small tattoo on his adopted dog, he assumed it was left there in an act of cruelty by his previous owners. So to stand in solidarity with his pooch, he had the same tat inked onto his arm. Little did he know, however, that the marking was intentionally left there by a veterinarian, and is actually assembled to verify that the dog is neutered. So with his new tattoo, the compassionate pet owner had effectively castrated himself with embarrassment. But there are even worse tattoos out there, like this one, which has an unbelievably embarrassing backstory. After having no luck winning the heart of his crush, one creepy dude took a permanent step in the totally wrong direction. He got a huge tattoo of her face on his arm. Posting it to Facebook, he was met with a torrent of humiliation and befuddlement. Even so, he still couldn't understand how people viewed his decision as insane, rather than the lovely gesture he imagined it as. Regardless, neither the girl whose face became a permanent fixture on his arm, nor her boyfriend, were very impressed. For the love of God, think before you ink. Party boy ambassador. Picture the scene. You're on a business trip, away from home, and in your downtime you head to the nearest bar for a drink. Next thing you know, the police are shaking you awake. Slowly, you realize you're completely naked except for the bondage gear and rope that's binding your hands together. You also have a rubber ball gag in your mouth. I know, that's quite a hard thing to conceptualize, but this is exactly what happened to Israeli ambassador Zuriel Raphael in 2007 on a trip to El Salvador. He was found outside the embassy in San Salvador tied up, stinking drunk, decked out in BDSM gear. How he'd ended up in that position was never revealed, but Raphael's wild night was such an embarrassment for the Israeli government he represented, he was sent home and fired. The incident and outfit were both described as unbecoming of a diplomat, and that's pretty accurate. Well, unless you're the official diplomat to Amsterdam's red light district. Manhandling. Michelle Mone, or as she's affectionately known in the UK, Baroness Bra, is a Scottish lingerie tycoon who had an utter nightmare in front of 3,000 people in 2016. While she was addressing the enormous crowd at an entrepreneurs conference in Vietnam, a little boy dressed in a very dapper suit presented Mone with a bouquet of flowers. Capitalizing on the cute moment, Mone picked the boy up to pose for a photo. Except the little boy in question wasn't a young child at all, but a very short 22-year-old man. After the crowd's uproarious laughter alerted her to the blunder, Mone put the man, who was actually a relatively successful real estate agent, back down. She did, however, take to Twitter to share her embarrassing moment with the world. Hopefully the publicity helped the little guy sell a few houses. Suspended at the slopes. A skier was left red-faced and bare-bottomed in 2009 following an unusual and chronically embarrassing mishap at a resort in Colorado. After the man boarded a ski lift with his child, he accidentally fell through a gap in the seat and began plummeting towards the snow below. But as he fell, one of his skis became wedged in the lift, which thankfully stopped his fall short. What he wasn't so thankful for, however, was the fact that his pants were pulled down in the process, leaving him dangling from the ski lift half naked. Like some sort of highly inappropriate Christmas tree decoration, he dangled 20 feet above the ground for over 15 minutes before finally being rescued. I doubt he used the ski lift again in a hurry, but when he did, hopefully he wore the tightest of tighty-whities. Schumer slips. Don't you just hate it when you tell a joke and nobody laughs? Amy Schumer should have gotten used to that long ago, but that didn't stop her from trying to get a few giggles at the Time 100 Gala in 2015. Spotting celebrity couple Kim Kardashian and Kanye West posing for pictures on the red carpet, Schumer decided a photobomb was in order. So she intentionally tripped up in front of them, throwing herself to the ground, expecting the couple to laugh or help her up.
Down here, please. Down here. Thank you. Kim, can we get a fashion shot real quick?
They didn't laugh, which, knowing Kanye, shouldn't have been a surprise. Spawning only confusion and grins, Schumer was left to get herself up and go back to the drawing board on how to make people laugh. I won't comment on whether or not she's figured it out yet. I want to break free. Usually I'd say getting a toned beach body for your summer holidays isn't as important as some people make out. But really, it might be if you want to avoid ending up like this guy. This poor fellow is so big that as soon as he sat down in the sun lounger, getting out of it again became a serious mission. There's only one way to slip this flabby fellow free. Fetch the grease bucket! Caught peeping. While posing with some business associates back in 2008, this businessman was caught on camera snapping some highly inappropriate pics of his own. He can be seen attempting to sneak a photo up the skirt of the woman sat next to him. Luckily though, the man was caught red-handed by the photographer, who decided to share how much of a creep this guy is with the world. At least he made the effort to smile for the snap, although with this photo still in circulation, I doubt smiling is a regular occurrence for this upskirt scoundrel. Kiss cam catastrophe. Word of advice, if you don't want your wife finding out about your secret girlfriend, maybe avoid major sporting events where countless cameras are placed around the stadium. One shameful philanderer learnt this the hard way after he was caught in the act on the stadium's kiss cam at a soccer match in Ecuador. Though he tries to move away the instant he catches himself on the big screens, it's all too late. And when a Twitter user who'd witnessed the moment on live TV shared it with the world, any hopes of keeping the kiss a secret went out the window. After the clip spread like wildfire, the adulterer publicly explained that the clip had ruined his marriage. While he begged for his wife to take him back and insisted the kiss had been blown way out of context, she was understandably uninterested. Despite occurring as recently as January 2020, the whole affair stands as one of the most embarrassing moments ever caught on camera. And if you look carefully, you can pinpoint the exact moment he knows his marriage is over. Whoopsie.